Bro, I rated this as a top tier trade so we can finally achieve depth around free agency. And I'd say it's a bit of a disappointment knowing Guerschon Yabusele's defensive production he had as a Sixers, and it didn't translate to our heavily switch-heavy defensive spacing, where we look like worse. We just got mopped the floor of losing by the Detroit Pistons. To be fair, Pistons deserve the second round. The first seed. I'm not projecting where they're going, by the way. So, we picked up Jose Alvarado and Latavius Williams for Dylan Terry and 2 second-round picks. After just getting rid of Guerschon Yabusele. So we just picked up Terry and got more depth at the guard position that can space out the floor and actually pick up defensive responsibility. Unlike Jordan Clarkson. Look, he's just there to just fit merch at this point, bro. Let's keep it a buck. He's a good powerhouse effort. He's just a light-skinned Dion Waiters. Because every time he's just on the switch and the guy's just ball watching, it pisses me off. And I like Jordan Clarkson. I'm a fan of Jordan Clarkson. But sometimes he just can't do what needs to be done on the floor. And it is a hard watch. It really is. But I still love him. But I wanted him to do some of the stuff that would actually help the team out. But we received 2 second-round picks. We pick up more depth around the backcourt that could at least space out the floor properly. I know it'll take time to gel. Not always going to be automatic deadline saves that save our season and make us like a consummate favorite like we did for OG Anunoby 3 seasons ago, or what we did for Mikal Bridges and how he gelled over with the defense and helped. But his offense took a slip. And we kind of knew like players would sacrifice their high production that when they were playing for minimal offenses. Hell, I would have liked if we gambled for Daniel Gafford. Or pick up another defensively minded player around the deadline. But I'm kind of glad. Because I know they would sharpen a gamble on keeping Dyson Daniels to be a key piece on the Hawks now rebuilt side. I would say more restructured side after getting Kuminga. So that's probably over the priority list. Zachary Ricochet is probably going to be an asset for probably over the summer, especially what Chicago's doing as well, picking up on all these guards. Because they have a surplus of guards around this deadline after getting rid of Nikola Vucevic to the Boston Celtics. And the only forwards they had was Nick Richards from the Phoenix Suns, Guerschon Yabusele, and they got Rob Dillingham, that's been struggling for playing time on the Minnesota Timberwolves for Ayo Dosunmu and Julian Phillips. I'm sure more people are going to keep their eyes on Ayo Dosunmu because he's an explosive fast guard that can actually finish around the rim, knowing Rob Dillingham's struggles on offense and defense. And his struggles to get consistency with Minnesota's demanding floor spacing, and you can play with Dante DiVincenzo on the second unit. I'm sure people are expecting that, but also what the Timberwolves were really struggling with was a younger guard to get on those switches and get his fast hands going, because Mike Conley is getting treated like a whore that aged out of the streets. Right now in the trade deadline, he has got cut from the freaking Jazz. Bro was in 3 different trades in this deadline. Oh my god. And Brandon Miller, that I'm shocked is still in the NBA. And for 2 second-rounders, Chicago were really beaten down. Also getting Anthony Simons. That wasn't even selectively starting on those Celtics teams that were currently second-best team in the Eastern Conference, I think, right now. They are second in front of us after our losing streak. And we are coming from an 8-game winning streak after losing to the Detroit Pistons. I'm really trying to find who won in this deadline right now. And the Pistons didn't even make a move. So didn't the Miami Heat after they started off 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. And now they're back in the play-in competition. Orlando Magic couldn't get rid of Jonathan Isaac out of their contract. the only thing they focused on was getting rid of Trey Jones. Tyus Jones. No, they got rid of Tyus Jones. And they weren't impacted in these three-way mega trades when Paulo Banchero needs help to try to evolve his game. And the Utah Jazz got Lonzo Ball that they're probably going to buy out off his contract after getting rid of Jock Landale. And they got one of the best defensive forwards in the NBA to play tall ball with Jaren Jackson Jr. How's the Utah Jazz doing better? That's insane. That's super insane. Besides that, we were ass. Well, at this point, Chicago just got Jaden Ivey and practically a whole new starting five except Josh Giddey. And we just got Jose Alvarado for practically nothing. And yet it still feels like we're missing a key piece of our offense that I don't think Mike Brown actually has the explanation for. That's just my opinion. Alright, let's be honest about one thing. Anthony Davis being removed from the Mavericks roster was a shoo-in. Not because Anthony Davis is a poor player. He's in a poor condition at an age where he should be still a relevant top 10 to 15 forward in the NBA. And now he is trade fodder. You practically got just Chris Middleton and Tyus Jones for Luka Doncic. The upside, you have 2 first-round picks. The Wizards get an All-NBA glass cannon and Jaden Hardy and D'Angelo Russell. So you got 4 players, practically 2 players because Dante Exum been in rotation for years. So you got D'Lo and Jaden Hardy to play over in the backcourt with young, impressionable players that need leadership, rotational depth, and you got Trae Young still over waiting for some opportunities. Well, at least you got more consistent players out of the Mavericks, out of a backup guard, out of Tyus Jones, A.J. Johnson, and Marvin Bagley Jr. That I've seen a couple games with Washington. Marvin Bagley has been somewhat exceptional when you give him the bag. Not really like how Sadiq Bey kind of changed up his development, but he's been okay. So I would say the Wizards at least have some rotational depth. The Mavericks won this because they got rid of a poor contract of $54 million worth of Anthony Davis only playing half of the season with like less opportunities to get over for a play-in spot and more playable rotation players to deal with. And the Hornets just get Maliki Branham out of his contract. So at least they get some added depth. Besides that, good trade for almost all parties. Even though, the Wizards lucked out. They got an All-NBA forward out of Anthony Davis that can't stay healthy, and even a worse conference, but a non-competitive team. Hell, even the Charlotte Hornets are a better team currently than the Washington Wizards. And they've been in purgatory for years. So I think everybody knows the circumstances right now. Game 7 of the NBA Finals, Tyrese Halliburton tore his Achilles after a dribble gone terribly wrong trying to attack, but sadly tore his Achilles in the middle of the 3 quarters after starting off the first quarter hot. And then the Pacers struggled to keep a core offense going. Pacers are currently bottom of the Eastern Conference. Depth is out the wahoo. They can't find the real identity of their offense. 52 games in, they're struggling to be a legitimate team after going in a 3-game losing streak, picking up to even get a 2-game winning streak going on in their season. There's something that needs to change. Also, Cam Thomas got cut by the Brooklyn Nets after pushing over a tradable deal, but he wasn't even pushed over in the deadline. If they didn't want to keep his contract going after Michael Porter Jr.'s success, let's just cut him. Right. Giannis Antetokounmpo didn't even get traded this deadline after headlines covering most of this year. So, what happens now? Benedict Mathurin. Benedict Mathurin gets traded. One of the key flops and poor defensive failures of last season gets traded. And I have nothing against Benedict Mathurin. He's just somebody that looks a bit ball dominant and obviously pushes over the hot hand and doesn't fulfill a significant role. But it can obviously have the potential to be a secondary third option in certain playoff teams, especially with a Clippers team struggling to get younger. So let's get rid of the only tradable asset that can actually be consistent on the team, and a replacement for Miles Turner. So they're going to get rid of Kobe Brown and Ivica Zubac, that's been on the Clippers for years, made the conference finals with the team, and Benedict Mathurin. With a chip on his shoulder, a place where he probably will pick up more of a predominant responsibility thanks to James Harden getting traded away to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Isaiah Jackson that probably could that can finally pick up some playing time at the front court, knowing the Pacers now struggle to pick up guys over in the front court. And they finally receive a first round pick, something they were missing. So circumstances alone got them a shoo-in for future draft options, and I would say blow it up. Kawhi Leonard should have been at least put off waivers for dead cap at this point over his contract when you guys swooped in to get Bradley Beal, just for him to get injured for the rest of the season. This was a complete wash. This was the unction. There was memes of this. There were memes. But besides that, I would say this was a good trade. Clippers got a bit younger over the deficit because they were the oldest team in the NBA, and they needed to pick up some leverage because Harden was the bare minimum of a player swap. Kawhi is injury prone as hell, so nobody's going to take a gamble over the contract that he's on. Chris Paul got snuck out of the rotation to not even be used over for Toronto probably. And Zubac is probably going to be a try-hard key piece that's going to be fighting for a contract. So just swoop him off to an Eastern Conference team that would actually need the rotation at the front court. The Pacers need it. Besides that, this is a decent trade. So Gabe Vincent, former Los Angeles Laker. Yes, I say former. It is crazy what the Atlanta Hawks did to at least make their team somewhat more usable. When it came to getting rid of Kristaps Porzingis, knowing he was going to play the bare minimum, and now getting younger pieces out of the purgatory they had with Trae Young leading the helm after trading him away earlier around the year before the deadline, receiving Buddy Hield and Jonathan Kuminga for manageable deals over a max contract, with Porzingis a leave over for depth pieces, knowing Porzingis would play for a more injury-prone rotationary piece to space over the floor and just shoot. He'll probably play like 15 minutes on the Warriors, give or take, while also getting Gabe Vincent. I'm sure Hawks fans would have liked Zachary Ricochet would probably at least get traded away, but Luke Kennard could work because he could actually space over the floor and shoot around the ball because they don't really have much of a distributor there on that Hawks team. But Jalen Johnson has looked like such an all-star this season. Besides that, I would say there's been a decent trade deadline for the Hawks. Picked up some manageable pieces and picked up a key piece that really wants to show himself out to actually be the guy that a lot of fans over on the deadline been waiting for the past 3 years for Jonathan Kuminga to get traded. Besides that, I would give it like deadline for the Hawks like a B+. Tell me how y'all feel down below in the comment section about the Hawks.